Because
Go on.
like one thing I got from this game is that my perspective of Manchester United from a mental perspective has gone completely out the window. Because like I have never seen a team give up like that, especially in a game of that magnitude. It was like as soon as the third or fourth goal went in, they were all clueless. Like you got Bruno asking to come off. You got mistakes left, right, and center from all of your best players as well, the likes of Martinez, Varane, Casemiro. Like I get there's off days. Like, there's games where players don't turn up for, and I understand that. But for the magnitude of the game and also to the level that everybody dropped off at, I had a lot of like I looked highly of Man United a lot for this season because they exceeded my expectations under Ten Hag. With the players that they've had at their disposal, I thought they needed a lot more time to assimilate into his philosophy. But they did really well this season up until that game, and it's like, well, now I'm starting to think, do United have this sort of thing where, like, where the game's done, they kind of just give up? Because we've seen it with Brentford, we've seen it with the City game. Maybe that's a bit more contextual.
Don't forget Brighton.
Context for that because it was earlier in the season, but it's now a couple times this season that it's been happening to you guys.
Don't forget Brighton.
It has. I think. Sorry, just to respond to that, I get why rivals are going to question the mentality, and you've got every right to. But I can talk, and I mean this genuinely. I'm not worried about the rest of the season because of this. Based on what you just said, and what Igal alluded to yesterday, this has happened a few times this season, and my belief is this: you've kind of what I've sort of noticed from rivals last night was like, ha ha ha. Your team's this, your team's that mentality. It's going to crumble. You're going to fall apart. These were the same people 3 days ago saying, actually, your rebuild's going super quick and you're brilliant again because actually you've got a really good squad. So now, again, this is where the banter ruins the argument. Have we got a really good squad or do we actually lack and we're going to collapse now? Both those things can't be true at the same time. I believe that Ten Hag is getting great performances out of a squad that's still got a lot of holes in it. He's only 5 players into his rebuild. And in the summer, a number of these players on the pitch, their positions at this club are still up for tender. You know, Fred as an example, Delo that started the game, David De Gea, Luke Shaw, Weghorst as an example. Half the team in 2 or 3 years isn't going to be here. However, there's 2 things I'm going to say to this. One, I still think we're making top 4, and I still think we're going to come third. So in the grand scheme of our season, this isn't going to put us off track. I think we'll beat Real Betis this week. And I think we'll knock them out of the Europa League. And I don't see Fulham at home knocking us out of the FA Cup either. So between now and the international break, we've got 4 matches. Win them all, and we're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and we'll remain 7 points clear in 3rd place. That's how you respond to this now. So I get where you're coming from, Lewis.
Yeah.
That's the big test now for United. Do we crumble after this? My view is we won't. The second element is the manager's got to find a way of rotating a bit more. Since the return of the World Cup, Man United have played 21 games. To put it into perspective, since then, Arsenal have played 12 and Chelsea have played 13. We've played almost as many games as Chelsea and Arsenal combined in the last 81 days. So the manager's got to find a way of rotating a little bit more in certain games. He's gone top heavy. It's won us a trophy, so I'm not going to criticize him for that. But the legs are also starting to look tired on certain players. And there's been a feeling amongst a few United fans I listened to that they felt a loss or a bad loss was on the way. They didn't think a 7-0 would happen. That's absolutely unforgivable, undefensible in every single way, or indefensible, I think is the word. But I don't think we're going to fall away from this point. We've played a hell of a lot of games in comparison to everybody else, barring City that have played 18. I'm proud of what the team have done. They've just got to bounce back now. Beat Betis this week, beat Southampton this weekend. And for us as United fans, we'll start to forget it. Rivals will throw it up for years and it will be in comments. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as we qualify for the Champions League and do well in these other cup competitions, it will be forgotten about by United fans in the same way we've forgotten about Spurs doing it to us and we forgot about City doing it to us.
Do you think a result like that can be forgotten, though?
It won't ever be forgotten.
7-0 at home away to Liverpool is like one of your biggest games.
When you say not forgotten,
it's your worst result.
Yeah. Again, I get it. It's their worst result. But the point I'm making is, again, I said this to you again yesterday. You will remember it because you're a man and you're sort of getting annoyed. But Man United fans, when we start winning games again and when we win another trophy, and if we continue to progress, we will forget about it. And the example I give you is how many beatings in the last 2 years have you taken, Igal, as an Arsenal fan?
I don't lose 4-0 on a regular basis. Like you guys.
Igal, how many beatings or embarrassing results have you had in the last 2 to 3 years?
I can only really think of Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Man City. That's it.
Arsenal in the last 2 to 3 years have only had 1 or 2 embarrassing results.
Yeah, but I can name 10 results for Man United right now.
But that isn't the point I'm making. And you know you've had loads of embarrassing results because you hang on, Igal. Let me finish my point. Igal, it's not about being rattled. You're not letting me finish. The difference is this: the point I'm making to you. You've had lots of embarrassing results. I'm not having a dig at Arsenal. I'm making a point about how fans feel about their own clubs, but you're taking it personally. Okay.
Let me speak.
No. Let me. You've challenged me. At least let me answer, Igal. Is that fair?
I didn't even finish.
But I wasn't finished and you interjected, so let me finish my point.
Go ahead.
So of course, you as a rival are never going to forget it. The same as Man United will never forget beating you 8-2. I totally understand that, and you're right. But you don't sit there now that you're top of the league and doing well, thinking about the times when you've been embarrassed. When you were calling Arteta out a year and a half ago, you don't think about that now that you're doing well. Liverpool fans, when they were challenging for Champions Leagues on the top of the table, answer me an honest question. Were you thinking about the 6-1 result against Stoke?
No.
So the point is, you will remember it, Igal, but you've got to learn that Man United fans, as long as we don't do what Lewis says, and that's collapse, we're not going to be staying awake thinking about it at night as long as we progress. So as much as you think, Igal, that I'm going to panic and be, today, I've barely thought about it outside of work because football doesn't dominate my life in that way. You may remember it forever because it's funny to you. The irony in it is it's not even your club's result. But Man United fans will forget about it, bruv, because all of our teams have been embarrassed, whether it's a big result like yesterday or whether it's like Liverpool when they lost. How many games was it at home they lost on the bounce and they got beat by the Burnleys and out of this world? Like
6.
There comes a point where they move on from that when they're winning again and they're challenging. They weren't thinking about that when they nearly won a quad last year, Igal. Come on, you know this, bruv.
Okay, let me just respond. First of all, Manchester United since COVID times have had these kind of beatings about 10 times. It's a repeated thing. And obviously, a lot of these players are the same players in that club, and you're going to have to get rid of them. Terry, you've mentioned that. Now, let me get on to the actual issue from this result. You have seen your team lose 7-0 to your fiercest rival in a situation where you're comfortable in the top 4, in that third position. You're getting your goal difference up, and now it's dropped down. You have a situation where Liverpool have a better goal difference than you. You have Tottenham still around you. And yes, you could potentially drop off. You need to bounce back. I get that. But this kind of result lingers. It lingers in the players. It lingers in the dressing room. It makes heads roll. It makes people lose their jobs. So yes, it is going to have a catastrophic effect in the dressing room. It could be a positive or a negative. But that's my main point, Terry. You're making it seem like this result will be forgotten from the fans. Yes, it might be an afterthought, but the issues and everything that it causes from this kind of result and this kind of issue, this kind of game will go through with the rest of the season, even if it's a negative or a positive. That's just all I'm stating. You didn't let me get to that point.
But again, I wasn't letting you finish your point because I was responding to Lewis and you interjected and I was trying to make a point and you didn't let me finish. So what you're basically stating is this could be a good or a bad thing for United.
It could be a good or a bad thing, but realistically, it is something you can't remember. It is something you're going to remember for the rest of the season. That is a fact.
But in so what do you think it's going to be, a good or a bad response from Man United? Like, because otherwise you win in both ways. Then if you say good or bad, how do you think it's actually going to go, Igal?
I personally think Liverpool finished above you guys, and I think at this moment in time, you guys let down your team, you let down your performance, and these kind of performances can linger and have a catastrophic effect on the season. And this could be where you start to capitulate.
Wait, so Liverpool are getting third?
Liverpool could easily get third from this position.
Do you know? I would agree, Igal, but I think the only difference is we've seen this United team with this manager be in this situation before. So they have had really awful results that they shouldn't have. And actually, Ten Hag has showed the discipline and the principles that are needed to pick themselves back up, even with players dropping Rashford individually. And I think if it's Ollie, I completely hear you. I wouldn't say he's got the backbone to do it, but I think Ten Hag has shown and proved that he can do it. Unfortunately.
I think the difference this time though is the fatigue factor. A result like this at the start of the season is somewhat like it's a blow, but you've got loads of time, you've got loads of energy, you've got loads of games to look forward to build up from it. Now, as you've said, United have played how many games in the past since the World Cup? I think it's like 21 or something. There's not been great rotation. It's starting to add up on the legs, and in a result like this, away your biggest rivals who are on a down season, you're on up season. I think that's the worry, that it can just suck the energy out the legs for the next couple of games where they're just a little bit lethargic and heads go, and maybe they get it back. before the end of the season. Maybe they do recover before the end of the season, but I do think there's real potential for a run of games now where United just look off the boil and other teams are smelling blood and they get some good results against a United team.
And that's fair. And I think that if that happens, then that's when I'll remember this result. So if we get beat by Real Betis on Thursday, we get beat by Southampton at home on Sunday, then I'll start to look at that and think, yeah, there's a problem. What's going to help Man United though? And this is, again, I just think this is not a deflection. We're talking about the run-in. Liverpool look in good form, but this is still the same Liverpool team that didn't beat Palace a week ago and got smashed by Real Madrid. I think Liverpool fans, when they come down from this high, will be thinking, we've got to go and solidify our performances and our defense because they're not exactly flawless. And you've also got Newcastle and Tottenham that are playing awfully right now. So I don't think Man United should be panicking. It isn't as though the three teams behind us are firing on all cylinders, looking amazing, purring, and are frightening. So we've just got to respond well. And you're right, Tom. If our legs go and we fall away from this point, it'll be very disappointing, and I'll criticize the team for that. My question to Igal is: do you think Man United? What you've said to me? So Igal, where do you think Man United will finish?
I just said it. I think you guys are going to finish outside of the top four if Liverpool continue the way they are, and if Tottenham can continue to do what they're doing. Maybe fourth at best. So
what do you mean Tottenham continue to do what they're doing? They've lost. I think they've lost like 4 of their last 8 games.
I just said fourth at best for you guys. I think Liverpool are going to finish above you based on the fact that what I've seen from them yesterday. If they can keep it up and just continue to keep the good times rolling and have their players come back, you could potentially see them finish above you because of the goal difference, and they still have a game in hand on you.
They don't have a game on us. It's level on games. We're 7 points clear.
Are you sure?
Can I chip in with a different perspective here? Look, I'm not a Man U fan. I'm not an Arsenal fan, Liverpool fan, all this, but I think everyone in the world's going well too crazy about this one result. At the end of the day, yeah, it's embarrassing. I think that's what it is more than anything. It's embarrassing. But if this defeat had come off the back of United losing 3 or 4 games before this is the sort of defeat that sees a manager get sacked. This is a Man United team that have lost like 2 in 33 games or something, right? Yeah, it's a bad result, but I fully expect Man United to beat Betis, to beat Southampton, and I agree with what Terry was saying, is if that doesn't happen, then you go, wow, look at the effect that defeat has had. But we've seen what Ten Hag has done this year, the situation he's managed with Ronaldo, the situation with, I believe it was Rashford turning up late for training or missing training or whatever that was. We've seen what he's done bouncing back from early season defeats to Brighton and Brentford. And then the first kind of speed bump in the road comes and every other fan enjoys it. Of course they do, right? Every other fan enjoys it, but I think they're enjoying it more than Man U fans are worried about it. And the next 2 wins for Man United, it doesn't mean anything. 7-0 sounds sensational, but in the grand scheme of things, you lost a game. You lost 3 points, right? That's it in the grand scheme of things. However, if United now go on and don't win for 3 or 4 games, then we see what they're made of as a club. But I don't see that happening. And listen, as a Spurs fan, I can tell you this, right? If you're saying if we continue doing what we're doing, we're finishing mid-table. So you've got nothing to worry about if you're Man United from a Spurs perspective.
Yeah, I mean, when
what I was saying, Terry.
Sorry, yeah, go on. Yeah, so what were you saying then? Sorry, go on.
What I was saying was, sorry, I was going to ask you actually, where do you think you're going to finish? Because when it comes to me, I honestly do believe you could drop off and maybe at best finish 4th. But
you asked me another question. You said you also said, would it be embarrassing? So would it be
embarrassing if you finish behind Liverpool from this position?
Not if we finish behind Liverpool from this position, but if we fall outside the top 4, then I'd be embarrassed.
Okay, fair enough.
So I would be, and I'd criticize it, and then you hold it and you take the criticism. But I still think Man United will come 3rd. So that's why I'm saying to you, if we still end up in, and I didn't think, I said we might come 2nd this year, and that was based on if one of you or City fell off out the title race, you may just sort of, when Spurs fell out the title race and they kind of dwindled towards the end and ended up finishing behind Arsenal. I thought there was a chance of maybe that happening. After yesterday's result, maybe not. I still think United will get 3rd. And I still think we've got a good possibility of winning another trophy. And if that happens, as much as this will live on forever and people will still banter us over it, as a Man United fan, I know that's why I brought up your clubs. because you've all had embarrassing results. And some of them are big scores, and some of them are smaller scores, but to lower level teams that have beaten you. You don't think about it when you move on. You get the banter every now and then, but United fans will learn to like go, great, well done, dead banter now. It's been done. Like it just happens. It's as
It
simple as
happens too regularly with Man United, though. That's what my main point was earlier.
yeah, but to you're saying that it has happened to us on a number of occasions, especially under Ollie. We took a good couple of beatings, especially to Liverpool. What they've done to us at Anfield in recent years is something that I want the club to address, and I want us to get better so that we're able to go there and not be so regularly embarrassed. Because whether we lost 3-0 or 7-0, they all embarrass me. They genuinely do. Yesterday's scoreline wasn't what embarrassed me. The lack of effort from my players annoyed me far more than the goals. They really did. And that's just me speaking honestly. And if you don't want to believe that, don't believe it. It really, again, I will finish this stream and I will quite literally just get on with my life. It's not going to bother me whether people believe me or not.